Welcome back to From the Shed End. Welcome back. We've got two videos in 2 days, in one day, not in 2 days, in one day. You lucky subscribers. As you can see, I'm joined here by Liverpool fan Jamie. How you doing, Jamie?
Hi mate, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Sounding like Barry White, but yeah, we'll cope for the
That's
next
not a
30
bad
minutes.
thing.
Yeah,
That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
we'll cope for the next 30 minutes. But yeah, before we get into the preview, obviously it's going to be Liverpool Chelsea preview. Before we get into that, please subscribe to this channel. Smash the like button. If you're here live as well, make sure you definitely join into the conversation that we're about to have. And also, Jamie, you've got your own YouTube channel, which is doing really well. Liverpool channel. Obviously, we don't want Chelsea fans to go over there, but of course, football fans of all the world. Whilst you're, you want to give yourself a little plug there and let people know
Yeah,
where you are.
yeah. So it's Jamie Phillips Football Chats, which is a Liverpool-based channel. That's it's going well so far.
Yeah, it's doing well.
It's doing all right. It's doing all right.
Yeah, well, we're gonna put the niceties away for 30 minutes because obviously your arrival until Monday morning. But Chelsea Liverpool always throws up exciting fixtures. It always makes for good entertainment most of the time. Sometimes a lot of draws. I think we've had a lot of draws over the last couple of seasons. You did obviously batter us 4-1 last season at Anfield, which was probably one of the worst. Yeah, the worst results we could have had. If I remember correctly, Connor Bradley played really well that game.
Yes.
Really good game from him. But what's your thoughts? Because obviously, new era under Arne Slot. You know, Jurgen Klopp has left his mark at the club. You know, as a one of the greats. You know, one of the greatest managers probably of all time. You know, in English football. What's your thoughts so far on Arne Slot?
Um, yeah, I think Arnie's come in and done pretty well so far, as we said. Look, when we were first linked with him, I only knew him a little bit because I believe Spurs were in him the year before. So yeah, I only know a little bit of him. And then obviously when it looked like he was become Liverpool manager, we all did our research and saw that he's actually a pretty decent coach. The work he did at Ainsley Alkmaar was actually really good.
Yeah.
Now they were joint. I think they were joint top of the league with Ajax, and COVID hit and their league stopped. So who knows what would have happened there? You know, won the league with Feyenoord on a very limited budget. Won the cup last season before coming to Liverpool. So he's got a pedigree of being one of these new, young, exciting coaches in their own way of playing. And at this moment in time, he's done good. He's settled. He's kept the club settled. The club ain't everyone thought the drop off was going to be, right away with Klopp leaving, and I can understand that a legendary manager leaving a club. It's always difficult, but he seemed to keep the ship steady so far. But we're coming up now to difficult games where he's going to be tested, and to be honest, these are the games I want. I want to see what Slot's about. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the next games the weekend and the games in the next few weeks as well.
It's been a really good start for Liverpool, and I think there was always that uncertainty, wasn't there? Because I was lucky enough to go to the pre-season friendly against Sevilla just before the season kicked off, and I'd watched a lot of the sort of games before that of Liverpool, and you could see small tweaks. You know, it wasn't major changes that Jurgen Klopp had installed, and then Arne Slot coming in. There wasn't much he needed to tweak anyway, but he's obviously put his own, and he's slowly putting his own authority, his own sort of way of playing, his style of play on this Liverpool team. Now you can see certain things have changed, a bit of a slower build up to, the build up to goals and trying to get into that sort of counter, the attackers. He's doing that slowly now. It's a bit more of a slower paced game from Liverpool, but at the same time as well, one defeat against Forest, which theoretically you should have won. I thought that was a game that you should have won anyway, but the only sort of banana skin you've had so far this season, you do come into some really difficult, tricky fixtures. You've obviously got Chelsea, RB Leipzig, Champions League, Arsenal at the Emirates is the game after that, Brighton twice, EFL Cup, and then the Premier League, and then Bayern Leverkusen, Aston Villa. You probably arguably could say the next game that you kind of should win with ease is Southampton on the 24th of November. Difficult, tricky games in there. Brighton, again, another one that can throw up a couple of issues, but I've been impressed with Liverpool, so far this season. It was always going to be one of two ways, wasn't it, right? It was either going to be continue as is, or things are going to fall off really quickly. I do want to ask you before we start talking about the game on Sunday, because obviously it's a massive grey cloud. As much as the sun always shines over Liverpool, there is a grey cloud because we've got a couple of players, Virgil van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mo Salah, all coming to the end of their contracts. I think they can talk to other clubs in December, or from January they can start talking to other clubs. I think in Europe anyway. What's your thoughts on all three? And I suppose if there was a priority of order of who you'd want to keep, what would that order look like?
Yeah, it's absolutely mental that this has happened. You know, that's the discussion about the club letting this happen. It's a bit of a disgrace, really. Also, I don't know who decided to make sure all their contracts end on the same day, which is that's another. Yeah, literally all three contracts end on the same day. So someone's
out to get Liverpool somewhere.
Yeah, so someone's cocked up badly there. I mean, it should be structured like they should all be a year. They should all be a year ahead of each other. You know, it shouldn't be on literally at the same time. So, like, yeah, the club have got a lot to answer for there, but the club has not been running particularly well the last few years. So, that's a massive debate about that. But with them coming to an end, I think Virgil signs. The news coming out of the club is that Virgil's, their contract with Virgil is I think it's the easiest out of the three of them to do. I think his is more about just how many years he wants more than, obviously get a little bump in his wage, but I don't think it's a problem for the football club. I just think they're trying to work out years. Virgil might want more than Liverpool willing to give him, but I think they'll come to some compromise. Virgil don't want to leave. All news coming out of the club that Virgil's very happy. He's the captain. Yeah. And he doesn't want to go anywhere. Salah don't want to leave Liverpool either, but the problem with Mo is he's our highest earner. He's 32. I think the club will look at that. I don't know if he has to take a pay cut to stay at the football club. I don't see us bumping up his wages. So that's an interesting one. And then Trent, obviously, the one that everyone's talking about at the moment because Real Madrid is talking. What I know from the club and what I've heard is that Trent is giving his whole priority to Liverpool. Real Madrid are in his ear. Marca are now doing what Marca do. You know what they like. They just start. They just make stuff up and stir it up. He's on the front page yesterday. And apparently he said they think Trent has said no to Liverpool and said yes to Madrid. And although David Ornstein and Paul Joyce have not said nothing, so I think it's Madrid doing what Madrid do. But we all know that every team is, we all know what Madrid are like when they stir. So. I honestly, look personally. I think Trent and Virgil stay and Mo leaves. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Trent becomes our highest earner, and Virgil signs a long-term contract. The one that's hardest to replace out of all three of them for me is Virgil because he's everything to our football club. He's for me he's our best player. And everything that starts and finishes is usually with Virgil. I've seen Liverpool with. I love Alisson, but he's injury prone. But such a great goalkeeper. But
one of the best.
I've seen Liverpool. And I've seen Liverpool play with Alisson and without Virgil. We struggle, and I've seen Liverpool play with Virgil and without Alisson, and we play particularly well still. So he's the hardest to replace because I don't know who you go and find because Liverpool would have to find superstar centre back to replace Virgil.
There's not many.
No, unless you're looking at someone like Bastoni or someone like that. Who, I don't know if he even wants to leave Italy. And also, you're looking at ridiculous money. So for me, it makes more sense financially and beneficial for Liverpool to give Virgil what he wants and just keep Virgil for 2 or 3 years because I don't think there's any deep. I don't see him dipping in form anytime soon. He's coming up to 34 and he's as good as any centre back around at the moment. So,
and I know he had that big injury, didn't he? He had that massive injury, but obviously against.
Took him a year over it, and now
he hasn't had any since that. Really, he hasn't had any major setbacks, has he? So he looks like he's hitting the form that we knew he would anyway, and he's obviously got back to that level. So there's a question. Someone Amol has put Mickey van der Ven is a perfect replacement for Virgil van Dijk. Don't know.
No. I don't think he's that good of a defender, to be fair.
He's still quite young as well. I think with Liverpool, I think Liverpool would be smart to keep Virgil van Dijk. Trent is a question mark because I think if his head does get turned by Madrid, then it's not the end of the world, because I do really rate Conor Bradley. I know he's not got the same passing range, and he's not got that sort of ability to get forward and drive forward with the ball and get something into the box. I think he's still got that. I think he's still got ability to do it, but he's not as good as Trent.
No.
Defensively, I think Conor Bradley, I do like him. He's a very, very young player. You probably still have to bring in another right back, but I think you've got someone in there for a season at least that you could possibly look at and say, is he good enough to be first choice?
Yeah, you got someone who can just take that role while you're looking for the right
100%,
player. Exactly.
100%. And Mo's a difficult one. His highest earner, obviously, the Saudi money is going to be astronomical. I don't know if he could probably turn that down. He's obviously had sort of a little nudge last season. Whether he comes on and stays or goes, I don't think I know he does a lot for Liverpool, but I do think there's other players out there that aren't as good as Mo Salah, but are just as good to keep Liverpool ticking over for a season or two until you find someone else that you want to go and get as well. So I think Virgil for me is the key one. At the backs, you need a good centre back. You're nothing without a good centre back in the team. You can have all the good score. You can have the best goal scorer, but if you're leaking as many goals, it doesn't matter how many you score. Do you know what I mean? So
agreed. Agreed.
Quickly before we move on to the Sunday game, Amo as well has asked, why is there a lack of quality English managers at top level? I'm assuming that's aimed at the fact that obviously Thomas Tuchel was appointed manager of England for 18 months, contract January the 1st. There has been a lot of uproar about that in the press, hasn't there, about a German coach and all the rest of it. What's your thoughts?
I don't care.
Let's move on.
No, but I'm all right with Tuchel in charge, to be fair. I'm absolutely all right with it. I don't see a problem with it. I don't see it as a massive issue. I really don't. English managers,
well, can you name a really good one at the moment that he's good enough to take on the England job?
No,
because you can't say Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe's not good enough yet. Graham Potter's not good enough. Frank Lampard isn't good enough. Steven Gerrard isn't good enough. No. We spoke about this on the podcast earlier, and the last English manager to win a domestic trophy was Harry Redknapp in 2008.
Yeah, I mean, he should have got the job time ago for me, Harry.
He probably still wants it now. That's why he's piped up.
Yeah. I mean, Harry should have got the job, but Harry was going for all that tax stuff at the time, weren't he?
So the Monaco, Rosie the dog.
Yeah, they bypassed it. But England managers, look, I don't know why there's a lack of quality of English coaches. I think the best English coach is you could argue Potter might be the best English coach.
Remember, you're on a Chelsea podcast, and I'm sure a lot of Chelsea,
a lot of Chelsea
fans disagree with that.
With coaching and managing, there's a lot of differences, ain't there?
Course, nuances.
But I think as a coach, I actually think Potter's probably a very good coach that could coach at international level. Manage coach. Apart from that, I know everyone keeps going on about thing at Newcastle, but.
Well, I think there isn't. We said earlier, we recorded our podcast earlier, and we were saying basically that the lack of English managers is because of just the fact that a lot of English managers are now overlooked. You look at how many English managers are in the Premier League as well. There isn't. I mean, how many is there? There isn't many. So, but then you look at other European countries, and you do tend to find that obviously they kind of keep a lot of things, especially at youth level, development level, all in-house. They don't get others to come in. Whereas I think in the Premier League, it's got to the point where, unfortunately, the best managers in the Premier League are not English. Pep, Jurgen Klopp. When Jose was here, obviously he was one of the best at the time as well. So we haven't really had a top English manager for years, really. If we're being honest.
And I still think it's a culture of English football as well. I think the culture is completely different to it is on the continent, and especially in Europe. And I just think, they have a different way of looking at the game and stuff like that. Where I think the English culture is still, you listen to these old English managers, and they still talk about They still talk about 4-4-2, lumping it up and going for a pint. You know what I mean? I think Eddie Howe and Graham Potter are if they go pick any, I think Eddie Howe and Graham Potter are probably the only two at a level. But also, I think it depends. You know, when you go in the World Cups and you're going against these big teams, are big teams going to be worried about a team managed by Eddie Howe? Or are they going to be more worried about a team that's managed by Thomas Tuchel?
And it's you look at your CV. Well, let's put their CVs on the table. Let's look at what Eddie Howe's won as a manager, and let's look at what Thomas Tuchel's won as a manager. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. You know, you've got someone who's a serial winner. He loves competitions, albeit at club level. You know, but still, you can hope he can translate that into international football. But he's won the Bundesliga, he's won the Liga, and he's won the Champions League, he's won the Club World Cup. He was voted FIFA Coach of the Year that season. He won it with Chelsea as well. So for me personally, I think it's sensible to have my 18-month contracts, because if it doesn't work, you can appoint Eddie Howe if you want then, or you can appoint Graham Potter. You can look at Lee Carsley again, see if Lee Carsley's ready to take that job on. But I do think it's been blown out of proportion. It did make me laugh that Danny Mills was on, I think, TalkSport or one of them, and he was talking about it should be an English manager, we shouldn't have a foreign manager. It's so strange because all his caps were under Sven-Göran Eriksson, so you know it says it all. You know,
I know. The thing is though, they're all. If it was Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp, I don't.
Oh come on, Jamie Carragher would be trying to get on the coaching staff, wouldn't he? If it was Jurgen Klopp.
And Pep Guardiola, you know, I think Sam Wallace in the Telegraph said today it's a dark day for England, but 3 days ago he wanted Pep Guardiola.
So that tells you
the same article. That it's just because he's German. It's Thomas Tuchel.
The thing is that the history.
Thomas Tuchel doesn't really like German football. I think he fell out of a lot of Germans. He's not your traditional German. Let's put it that way. And he loves English football. Thomas Tuchel. And when he did his interview, when he did his press conference, I was like, you know what? He's actually quite likable. You know, actually, the way he was talking, he knows the Premier League, he knows English football. Yeah. The way he was talking about the game, I was like, I mean, he's talking about English football with more pride than some Englishmen.
No, that's it.
And people don't care when players who should be playing for another country play for England because you nick them.
Exactly.
And Declan Rice and Jack Grealish should be playing for Ireland, really. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that's all right. But you can't have a German man.
It's bizarre. So let's move on. Let's move on before we get on our soapbox. But
definitely.
Big game on Sunday. Obviously, you know, Anfield is a really difficult ground to go to. What's your thoughts, your intentions? What do you think Liverpool need to do to nullify, which has been a really good start for Enzo Maresca at Chelsea as well? You know, we've started the season really well, attacking wise, shaky on the defence still. We've got a couple of suspensions. You've got Alisson out, I think. Gravenberg looks amazing in midfield, but we also have Caicedo, similar, who looks just as good. So what's your thoughts going into the game? We'll do predictions and predicted lineups in a minute, but what's your thoughts? Are you confident you can get the job done?
I'm always confident if Liverpool play football. It's just, you know, you're always confident about your own clubs.
Yeah, of course.
I will say with Chelsea, I think Maresca's come in and done a fabulous job so far. Yeah. I mean, losing the opening day of the season to City is nothing bad. Everyone can lose to City. It's not an issue. But I like what Maresca's doing. You know, he's come in there, no nonsense. He's picking through the weeds. You can see he's picking through the weeds. He's literally finding out, right, who's my player? Who can I trust? Who could do a job for me? You know, I'm not going to put all these superstars on the pitch at the same time just because I've got them. I'm working out what I've got here, who can do the job for me. And he's been impressive so far. I will say I think it's a very good appointment. Poch didn't work. I know Chelsea got good towards the end of last season and Poch got them going. But I think that was more that Chelsea's injuries stopped.
Yeah.
And they got players fit and they could play his best 11 every week towards the end of the season. But Poch at Chelsea just didn't work. That Tottenham factor's always there. It just doesn't make sense going forward long term. But Maresca does. And what he's done with Chelsea so far is really impressive. No one, anyone saying anything else. I know there's a lot of things going out because, you know, people will still say the same thing about Chelsea. They've been saying the last couple of years. But you always need the right man.
Yeah.
I always feel like you can have the players, but if you haven't got the right man to lead these players, nothing will ever happen.
Yeah.
You've got to have the right man, and looks like Maresca's doing a good job. I like what he's doing with the forward line. He's got Jackson playing really well, in my opinion. Obviously, you've got Cole Palmer, who's probably the best player in the league right now, doing absolute bits and a madness. You know, and I think Sancho was a good bit of business. I think long term that had come out well. Neto as well.
João Felix.
João Felix.
Yeah.
I always find João Felix a weird one. I don't know about you, like. I don't know if João Felix is good or not, if this makes sense, because he's always been that superstar when he was a kid, weren't he? Coming through. I think he's a very good player, but if Cole Palmer's fit, he doesn't touch Cole Palmer for me.
Yeah, no, I think the worst thing that probably could have happened to Felix was that 100 million a couple of seasons ago. I think when you pay 100 million, and I'll say the same. I'll say the same about Enzo Fernandez. When you're paying that much for a player, you're expecting them to turn up every single week. They've got to be the star man every week. 100 million, I know it doesn't sound much in today's football. This player's probably going for a lot more than that in a couple of years from now. But 100 million should guarantee you, a 9 out of 10 player every game, most games. We're not getting that with Fernandez. We're not getting it with João Felix because he's not getting a consistent run of games. But you can't drop Cole Palmer. You could argue the toss. You couldn't even drop Sancho as soon as he's come into the team. He's looked really well. He's linked up well with Palmer. Madueke is probably the weakest out of that three, but he still plays really well. It's just his final decision making is really poor. Sometimes he shoots, he should be crossing into the box. But I don't know whether Maresca's brought João Felix in and said, look, this is what your role's going to be. Conference League football, cup football, odd Premier League game. You might get a bit more time if there's an injury or one of the players drop in form, but he doesn't seem to be kicking up a fuss, Felix. He seems confident that he can get into the team. He looks sharp when he comes on. I just think that £100 million price tag a couple of seasons ago is probably...
It's hurting.
Yeah, it's bumped up his sort of expectations, what people think. He's still a really good player, and he's still young as well. I think he's he's only just turned 24, 25, so he's still quite young. Yeah. Same with Neto. It's interesting to see how we can play with him. I think he's more...
He's a superstar. If you can keep Neto fit,
that's the key thing. That's the key thing, keeping him fit.
Superstar. I think, Cole Palmer is your best bit of business under the new ownership. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. But if you can keep Neto fit, man, I'm telling you, he's completely different. I think everyone agreed outside the top four, he was the best winger in England by, quite some way outside the top four teams. And now he's with one. He's going to be, if you can keep him fresh and keep him fit, he's going to be an exceptional bit of business. But my thing with this game is, Chelsea's goal scoring prowess is excellent. Top goal scorers in the league. They got great forward line, great depth there. Can cut anyone open at any time. And what Liverpool got to do for me, we just got to keep the ball better.
Yeah.
If we keep the ball better, I think it could be a tight game. But I literally do think it's going to be a midfield battle this game.
I said that.
Whoever controls the midfield, because they're two very similar sides in the way both managers want to play. They both like to sometimes invert their fullback into that midfield area.
I was going to ask you though, do you reckon Slot will do that because I know Trent loves to do that, doesn't he? He loves to put Trent in that midfield when you've got possession of the ball, and obviously when you haven't got possession of the ball, he reverts back to being a right back. I just think with someone like Jadon Sancho, who will be ripping down that wing, will Slot potentially say to Trent, look, you've got to sort of use your defensive brain today.
Yeah, I literally, because Slot's so different to Klopp in this defensive aspect of the game. We have seen a couple of games where Trent goes into that. So if McAllister will grab him virtually that area, Trent will go in and cover and play alongside one.
Yeah.
And then you play the back three. But in other games, we've seen Trent, pretty much stay as a right back and not even get past the halfway line at times. So I think Slot's a bit more tactically defensive minded than Klopp used to be.
It's got the awareness.
Obviously not a diss at Klopp. It's just managers all coached differently. And I think Slot will tell Trent not to worry about going into that midfield area because, the midfield I think lines up with each other pretty well.
Well, it matches up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it'll match. Yeah, I don't think Trent needs to for this game. I think it's beneficial for him. Stay in his right back area.
Yeah, I mean, I said earlier when we I said we recorded our podcast. I said, for a Chelsea perspective, I'll be looking at both those areas. Andy Robertson, you'd assume might start as left back, and Trent on the right. Medwecki, who loves to run at defenders, I think he could exploit Robertson to an extent. And I think on the other side you'll have Trent Alexander-Arnold. You'd assume again Jadon Sancho potentially will start on that left side as well, and he's dangerous. Him and Cole Palmer linking up together, I think will cause, which I'd assume would be Trent and maybe Kanate. I think maybe playing alongside each other.
Play that side,
so you'd assume they're going to have to double up on Sancho. But then I say all that, but then on the flip side, we're going to have Cucurella suspended for this game. Wesley Fofana suspended. So our whole defence, our back line is going to have to change. You'd assume Tosin might come in for Wesley Fofana. Renato Vega will come in for Cucurella. So that will give someone like Mo Salah. He's good, but again, we've used him a lot where we invert him in. We'll drop him into that midfield.
And that's the thing for you guys. I think with Salah, I think what Slot might ask Salah to do is cheat a little bit in this game and not come back too much.
Yes,
because if he doesn't come back too much, it might confuse what Jadon does.
Yeah.
If you've just got Salah staying on the halfway line, just waiting for that ball out wide, and you got Vega who might not help himself but tuck it in at times. That is it's probably similar positions to both teams. I think that's what both teams might be looking at on the fullback areas.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because I think Sancho won't be able to fully commit going forward because he will have to help and support back Vega and vice versa. So you're probably right there as well. Midfield, you just mentioned it before. Obviously, Ryan Gravenberch is probably there's all this talk about Zubimendi. We need Zubimendi, and there you have Ryan Gravenberch in the midfield who's done really well. He's been massive for Liverpool this season, completely massive. You'd expect him to have another really good performance on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's had 6 man in the matches for us already this season in all competitions. He's been excellent. Look, I was excited when we first bought him last season because I knew the potential he had when he was at Ajax.
Yeah.
I think everyone forgets he was a wonder kid at Ajax. He was him and Jude and players like this. They were the next crop of young guys, and and he obviously that move to Bayern Munich didn't do him any favours. And we got him at Liverpool, but I don't think Klopp quite knew what to play with because Klopp liked playing 4-3-3.
Yeah,
and I think when you play a lone 6, he's asking Grav to be that box to box wide sort of midfielder, and it's a lot different to the double pivot he's playing now, and he's getting hold of the ball a lot more. In the under Klopp, he's not getting as many touches, so he can't get your rhythm. With Slot, we play through the midfield, so the midfielders get a lot of the ball. So I think it's just benefiting him playing this double pivot, and it's how he played at Ajax. I mean, that's sort of similar position he played at Ajax, maybe a little bit further forward, not as deep, but he can definitely. He's not a DM, as we all know what DMs are, but I don't know about you, Theo, but I think DMs are maybe changing a little bit to how they used to be. It's just not the smashing DM now. I think it's more ball playing DMs. A lot of teams are looking for now, and that's what Gravenberch is. Look, this game has probably got the 2 best informed midfielders in the league in Gravenberch and Caicedo at the moment. Yeah. They're the 2 most informed midfielders. 6s, whatever you want to call them, in the league right now. So that's why I said it's whoever gets on top of this midfield first and gets control will probably undoubtedly win this game.
Yeah. Got to have a before we do our predictions, I think discipline is the word I'd use for Chelsea as well, because, these sort of games do sometimes go away with us and we do get caught up in the moment. I'm thinking back to although it was a handball, but just we got to keep 11 men on the pitch. It was a couple of seasons ago. I think Reece James got sent off for what I still think wasn't a handball. Ref went and done the V. I think it was Anthony Taylor of all refs. Let's do predictions because obviously, if anyone who's listened to the podcast earlier on today, you'll know my lineup. But what would your lineup be for Liverpool for Sunday?
Kelleher definitely in goal. With Alisson's injury, which you know, I'm not. It's weird that we're missing Allison, and I'm not too worried because how good Queven Kelleher is as a goalkeeper.
He's a number one. He should be a number one goalkeeper somewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
he's good.
that is one area Liverpool got quite strong depth in.
Yeah.
It's definitely a goalkeeping area, so I'm not worried about Keller in goal. It'll be Trent Canate, Virgil, and Robbo. Midfield will definitely be Gravenberg and Szoboszlai. There's just doubt on McAllister for this game.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he didn't train today. He did gym work.
It's a bonus.
My only thing on it, I feel like because he's had this abductor groin issue, but he played for Argentina. They said he was fine. And I think it's just he might be in a different training program, so he might even train tomorrow. But I feel like Slot want him playing,
and maybe
let him rest. Them letting rest the Champions League game away to Leipzig.
Yeah.
So I think he'll probably try and get him in the game. So I think McAllister will still play in the midfield three. And then, Salah, Jota and Luis Diaz up front.
It's interesting. I didn't know that about McAllister. Who would be...
Yeah, he's our only doubt, really.
Who's the replacement for McAllister?
That's our issue, ain't it?
I'm trying to think who would it be.
Probably be Curtis Jones. It'd probably be Curtis Jones.
Yeah, it would be.
You could put... See, if it was me...
Because Endo's still injured, isn't he? Endo's out. And...
If it was me, I'd actually put... I would possibly put Curtis Szoboszlai alongside Gravenberg in a deeper role.
Yeah. Wow.
And then put Curtis Jones in the then put Jota in the 10 and put Darwin as a 9.
Yeah, that makes sense as well.
And play it that way, and then you got Salah, Diaz, Jota, and Darwin.
Some attackers.
That's how I think that's how he might go because Endo and Tsimikas are ill.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they'll make it.
Elliot's still out, isn't he? I think
Elliot's still out. He was meant to make it for this game, but he's not ready yet. He'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And Curtis Jones has just had a kid.
Oh, okay.
So I just. So I feel like if McAllister can't play, I think he will put Szoboszlai with Gravenberg and then. And then maybe Jota in the 10. Just he's done weird things like that before, where we all like played a 4-2-4.
Yeah.
So it won't shock me.
It's a good lineup. It's a scary lineup when you think about the attackers. I went with Robert Sanchez in goal earlier. I went with Malo Gusto right back, Renato Vega left back, Levi Colwell and Tosin as the centre backs. I went with Moises Caicedo. I dropped Enzo Fernandez and put Lavia, who I thought played amazing against City opening game of the season. He's had 2 weeks now back in training. He hasn't played throughout the international period for obvious reasons. So I put Lavia, drop Enzo Fernandez, who again played for Argentina. But I also did a video on the channel earlier this week about what's his best position. You know, is he better as a DM? Is he better, as a 10 or whatever? And we still don't really know with Fernandez. So I'll drop him for this game. Sancho on the left, Cole Palmer as a 10. I've stuck with Noni Madueke on the right, and I've gone with Christopher Nkunku up front. I've dropped Nicholas Jackson. I just think we need someone clinical in front of goal. And I think Nkunku scored at Anfield, didn't he, last season? Albeit it's a consolation, but...
We were meant to buy Nkunku, but...
He's meant to buy Lavia and Caicedo off us as well.
Well, Nkunku... With the Nkunku thing, we got offered Nkunku, but Jurgen Klopp wanted Darwin instead.
Well, still he could still come into good.
I love Nkunku. I think I was speaking to a Chelsea fan yesterday when I was doing a show with someone else, and we're talking about Nkunku and that. And I was thinking maybe the reason Nkunku don't play as much as Jackson does is because I think when I watch Nkunku, I think. I think Jackson's involved in the game a lot more.
Yeah, he is.
Even when he's not got the ball. He dropped his deep in and he's running off the shoulder as well with his pace and energy.
Yeah.
I think because he's more involved in a 90-minute game, that is why he gets the nod over Nkunku. I think Nkunku's a far better finisher.
Yeah,
no doubt about that. But
he adds
I
more.
think with Jackson, as a manager, I can understand why Jackson plays. It makes sense to me. But Nkunku's definitely a great player, man. I love that player.
I'm hoping he starts. I hope he gets another goal at Anfield. Before we wrap up, score predictions. What are you going for?
Always got to back your team. So I'm going to go 2-1. I think it'll be a really tight game. I think it'll be really tight. In fact, I think Chelsea take the lead.
Oh, I don't want that. I'd rather we have to chase the game.
And Liverpool win 2-1. We've had this ability the last few games where we give a soppy goal away really early in games.
But then you always fight back.
Been given off, but they've been given offside a few times and got away with it. So I just feel like Chelsea will score, but I just think being at home, big
advantage.
game. Yeah. I don't know about you, Theo, but I'd rather play like a big side. Right after international breaks, I think players have to put their brains in gear quicker. Because of the international. I actually think Arsenal and Bournemouth is a tougher game for Arsenal in a way because that international break can make you a bit lazy on the brain sometimes. And I think if you play a big side after international break, I think all players will be
you can't slip up.
Very alert. So I think this is going to be a real chess game. I hope so. A real chess game.
I hope so. You speak of internationals. I remember we got battered by West Brom after an international break as well. So you're probably right there as well. But I did go for 2-1 Chelsea earlier, but I also caveated and said that I can also see it being 2-1 Liverpool. But I did go with backing the boys, like you said. So I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea. I hope we don't score first. I'd love it. I'd love Liverpool to score first. We grab another goal back and then we score late on in the second half. Maybe we bring on Nicholas Jackson. Maybe bring on Enzo to see the game out. Wishful thinking. I think we could end up going there and get battered 4-1 again. We just don't know if Chelsea really don't. But Jamie, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Welcome, man.
Again, just want to give everyone the shout where they can find you. As I said at the start, it's a really good channel. I always try and tune you when I can. So do you want to just plug the channel?
Yeah, so it's Jamie Phillips Football Chats. As course, it's all Liverpool debate channel, but we talk about everything over there. So appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
And there is a link to that channel below as well. So make sure you smash that. Go over there, subscribe, all the rest of it as well. Make sure you subscribe here if you haven't already. As I said, we are still on the very small road to 500. So make sure you hit the like button, all of that stuff, comments, Linktree links are in the description. And until then, let's hope we can get the 3 points. Sorry, Jamie, but we need 3 points against Liverpool. Until next time, stay safe and we'll be back soon.
See you later.